Hey, it's Drew Weber. I want to talk with you a little bit about the review cursor within the BT Speak. We have, for example, review cursor if you're a JAWS user under Windows. The same concept is true in NVDA. And we have that here as well in the BT Speak. Now, this isn't something that I have yet really used until maybe we really need to use it, because most places in the operating system are completely accessible and do what we would expect them to do. I really appreciate the feedback from a couple of the Daves, if you will, from the BT Speak mailing list, talking about the Lynx browser. This is a text-based web browser within the BT Speak Basic. And the Lynx browser allows you to pull up web pages, review them, and as I was kind of going through it, I saw that really with the standard down arrow, which is .4 chord, we really got just a link that was read back. We didn't really read the page until we did a say all with an ER chord, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, and space. And so I went back and said, hey, is this normal? How do I be able to read by line? And the review cursor was mentioned. And I thought, let me dive into this just a little bit. And I realized that this may be a really cool demo for those like myself who are not super familiar with the review cursor in the BT Speak. So, we do have the BT Speak Basic here. I do have the volume turned up. Let me
Speed setting, volume 50.
Turn it up just a little bit more.
Default bindings.
I've got it slowed down. Now, the review cursor can be activated really from with anywhere on the unit with an R chord and exited with a Z chord. So R being 1, 2, 3, 5, Z being 1, 3, 5, 6, and space bar. And from here on out, I'll just assume that me just calling out the chords within this demo will just prompt you of what you would do. So I won't call out the dot patterns, if you will. The review cursor also has a help that you can read in the help files. If you go to options with O chord and then H for help, you can drill down into the review cursor. Or if you have the review cursor active, you can review the help files. Now myself, I am still getting used to Deck Talk, and I'm less familiar even with eSpeak. I feel like Deck Talk is easier for me to understand. But one thing I will say, when reading the help for the review cursor, it sounded to me like long alt on some of these commands. And lo and behold, there is a long alt as I went to the help files and reviewed the keyboard commands that would be an emulation of a keyboard from the Braille input. Long alt didn't work in the review cursor, so I read it a little bit closer and it's long hold. So what that means is if you've ever used one of the Braille keyboards that allows you to hold down a key pattern, hold it down for a length of time, and then that action will take place. So think of review cursor as reviewing a screen at a time. Now remember, we do have video in the BT Speak. We can connect an HDMI, so we do have, so to speak, a screen, though we're not used to thinking about it. At least I'm not, so to speak. So let's just do a little short look here at the review cursor before we get into the web browser, which is really what I wanted to showcase here. Let's just go to the options menu with O chord.
Options menu.
And we're just going to start drilling down it with down arrow, .4 chord. First off, if we just hit a C chord, we're going to get what?
Options menu.
We're at the top of the menu. We haven't yet selected a menu item. But as we .4 chord,
applications, time, date,
so on and so on. Let's go ahead and go back up and see if we can just get to options,
time,
or how that works.
Help topics.
Okay.
Help topics.
Let me get out of options with a Z chord.
Welcome screen is open.
Now we're going to take a look at the review cursor. That was just the regular cursor, if you will. I'm going to go to options, O chord.
Options menu.
And I'm going to hit an R chord.
Review mode.
And here we are. So I want us to think about a lot of the keystrokes for review mode, kind of like we think of our keystrokes for reading without the chordage, if you will. So to go down a line, we use .4 instead of .4 chord. To go up a line, .1 instead of .1 chord. To go forward a word, .5 instead of .5 chord, so on and so on. Now, I'm not saying they're all the same, but we do have a lot of similarities just without chording. So now, if I do just a C, 1, 4,
Options menu.
We have options menu. If I just do a .4 to go down,
Applications. Time. Date. Battery.
we're going down the menu just as we would if we were using the regular cursor, and we are not moving that regular cursor. So that's important to note. So if I were to exit the review mode now with the Z chord,
Options menu.
we're back in the options menu. If we hit a C chord,
Options menu.
we're at the options menu, which lets us know we're at the very top of that menu and we're not traversing yet menu items. So let's go ahead and go into this review mode again with our chord.
Review mode.
Let's go down with .4.
Applications. Time.
We want to move the actual cursor to the location that we're at in review. I'm going to do a long hold on 7 and 8. So those are the two to the left and the right of the space bar.
Space.
Okay, so we've moved our cursor, I believe. I'm going to hit a Z chord.
Default bindings.
Now what if I hit a C chord?
Time.
We're at time. So it does say default bindings, and I thought we had gotten lost, but we hadn't. We hadn't left the options menu. We had just exited the review cursor, okay? So we're now at
Time.
where we expect it to be because we had moved our cursor to match where we were at in review mode with dots 7 and 8 long hold. Now, I don't believe this works in every place in the operating system, and the only place I've really reviewed review mode, if you will, is in our browser, which we're going to go to soon. Now, if we go back to the welcome screen, for example,
Welcome screen is open.
I just did a Z chord, and we do review mode with R chord,
Review mode.
and let's just do a 1, 2, 3 to get to the top here.
Viewing welcome screen.
And let's .4,
Space.
excuse me, we're not getting what we maybe expect to get, right? So if I Z chord,
Default bindings.
let's now do a 1, 2, 3 chord,
Top of file.
and let's now .4 chord.
Blank. For help on specific topics, press blank. We recommend that new users begin by reading these help topics in the following order.
Okay, so now as we're out of review mode, we're getting the feedback. So this is one spot where review mode doesn't work. Now I want to stress that I'm not saying myself that I'm going to go use review mode everywhere. I feel like it's kind of like the review cursor. We only use it where we really need help or need extra feedback that we're not getting. My example of this is going to be in the web browser. So let's go ahead and jump into that Lynx browser. We're going to go to options menu with O chord.
Options menu.
We're going to go to applications with A.
Applications menu.
And we're going to go to the Lynx browser with B, dots 1 and 2.
About links, archives.
Okay, now we're in the Lynx browser. So if I just do a .4 chord, that's going to down arrow me. And watch how this kind of works here.
Space. For information on how to use links, see the Links User's Guide or the Links Help Files. Computing Services of the University of Kansas.
I will say this is reading much better than a lot of web pages I come across. So maybe this is not the best example to be showing. But let's just, for the sake of it, go back up to the top with 1, 2, 3 chord.
About links, archives.
And let's turn on the review mode with R chord.
Review mode.
And let's now .4 down and see what we come across.
Space. About links. Space. Links is a fully featured World Wide Web www browser for users on Unix, VMS, and other platforms running cursor addressable character cell terminals or emulators, other character cell displays, and VT100 emulators such as Commodore, Recom running on PCS or Macs. Space.
I'm going to stop there, but we can already tell we're getting different information. And I guess I'll take back what I said about maybe that not being a good use case example, because it is. We're getting the information that we may expect to get out of this. It's telling us about the Lynx browser, and we're able to kind of match that up with what's going on. At least for me mentally, I would think, hey, yeah, that's probably what's there on the web page, and we're reading it, with the review cursor. I'm going to go ahead and go out of review mode with the Z chord.
About links, archives.
And let's go into our, I'm going to call it URL. If you're kind of thinking Windows, you got the address bar. let's go ahead and go there. With G, that's dots 1, 2, 4, 5.
URL to open.
Here we go. And I'm just going to, in grade 1 Braille, type my website address. Now I'm connected to a Wi-Fi, and I'll tell you, it's interesting to watch this thing work because if there are cookies involved, you do have to say yes to each cookie. Hopefully, they're all snickerdoodles. Okay, www.drewsound.com. Let's go there. Enter.
Using https:// number sign Drew sound close angle quote feed Drew sound close angle quote comments feed Drew sound.
Okay. So now if we do a 1, 2, 3 chord.
You are already number sign Drew sound close angle quote feed Drew sound close angle quote comments feed Drew sound.
What it was going to say is you're already at the top. So I'm going to do a .4 chord.
Space WordPress.com.
I believe that's a link.
Skip to content.
That's a link.
Drew sound. New demo track, Fall for You, used H1-E to overdub. BT Speed networking using file browser client on iOS to browse beat speed. https://app.temple.com/app/filebroWSBR
Okay.
-document.
Good. So I can tell you all those are links. So that is what we're getting when we down arrow or .4 chord on a website is generally speaking links. That's generally speaking what I have found when I look through web pages. So let's go back to the top, let's turn on review mode, and let's go down the site and see kind of what we get. And since it's my site, I'll be able to tell you if it really is true to form as far as what we should be seeing.
Number sign Drew sound close.
Okay, so review mode, R chord,
Review mode.
top with dots 1, 2, 3.
Number sign -- Drew sound make some noise.
All right.
Drew sound equals Drew Weber's audio P1 of 24.
So P1 of 24, we got 24 pages or 24 screens we can go through. That's what that means. And so I'm just going to try to get my mind away from using chords. We're going to use .4 now to read down in review mode.
Number sign Drew sound close angle quote feed Drew sound close angle quote comments feed Drew sound. WordPress.com. Space. Skip to content. Space. Drew sound. Space. Make some noise. Space. New demo track. Fall for You. Use space. So the ability to record this song so easily really confirms to me that I purchased the right Zoom Essential recorder for me.
Yes, I can tell you this looks much more like my website. So if we go to the end of this screen or page with dots 4, 5, 6.
HL pushes PRINGOMA screen view / line 30, column 1.
This is going to be what we see really, even if we're just .4 chording at the end. It's going to tell us this is the Lynx browser information, kind of how to use a couple of different things. So I'm going to go back with .1.
Arrow keys up and down to move.
So we're going to just continue to .1 here to get back up here. And what I want to find is the end of Drew's Sound content on this page and show you how to move through the website, so to speak, is my goal at this point. .1.
Press space for next page --
Ha, right where I wanted to be. Press space for next page. So this is, even out of the review cursor, when you get down to the end of the page, the keystroke for moving to the next page is space. So what we're going to do is exit review cursor after we find what's at the end here. And then we're going to go to the next page, go up to the top and see if we're continuing reading where we think we should be, since we're switching cursors and things like that. So I'm going to .1 again.
Information that you have dubbed in. When you dub the third take, you.
Okay, so information that you've dubbed when you dub the third take. I know where we're at. I'm going to get out of the review cursor with Z chord.
Number sign Drew sound close angle quote feed Drew sound close angle quote comments feed Drew sound.
And I'm going to hit space.
BT speed networking using file browser client on iOS to browse beat speed.
Okay, so now I'm still on my website. That's another post. I'm going to go ahead and do R chord.
Review mode.
I'm going to do 1, 2, 3 to move to the top.
Number sign -- Drew
And we're going to go
make some
down
noise.
with .4.
Have takes 1, 2, and 3 together. So what you can do is put say tracks 2 and 3 into Reaper. Flip the phase on track 3 and you line 3 column 1.
Okay, yes. So we are where we should be. So what we've done is essentially, we've skipped a lot on the page, but if we would have read that whole page down with .4 and we would have found where it said space for next page. We would have exited the review cursor. We would hit space. Next page would have popped up. Review cursor back on. Went to the top with L, 1, 2, 3, and started reading again. We're in the exact spot we should be. So what I'm feeling like is this is a really great way to read web pages on the BT Speak Basic. Now, we are not able to, at this point, move the cursor to the point of our review, at least in my experience. Remember how I showed you when we were in the options menu, you hold 7 and 8? It doesn't have the same effect in the Lynx browser, unfortunately. It gives me a different beep, and I just don't think we're in the same spot, because I have been in a spot where I'm not on a link, and it does take us to another link, and we're eating snickerdoodle cookies. Ha ha, joke. But that is really cool to know that you can browse web pages like that. And if you remember that, hey, if you're out of the review cursor, .4 chord takes us down to links, .1 chord up links. Even though you're not exactly where you should be with your cursor, you can still find links if you need to go to somewhere else, which is really cool.